So, I wanted to talk about this topic that has gained attention recently with the incident that happened with the Dalai Lama. And I feel like I have a lot to say about it. So, I wanted to do this video. And, obviously, I think it's something that's more connected to the spiritual community and it's a deep reflection that's taking place for all of us. But I have my own experience within Tibetan Buddhism at the same time, so I wanted to just shine my light on that. Obviously, I just kind of touched the surface, I can say, and I didn't go too deep into the study and into the teachings. So, it's not like yeah, it's not like I was deeply studying it for years, but I have seen a little bit about it and have had my own personal experience. So it's something that really um really touched me in specific ways when I saw the video. So a lot of people probably have already seen the video, know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm sure you can find that online. When I first watched it, it made me feel very uncomfortable. It was it's just weird. The way to describe it is just weird and inappropriate. That's the word. Inappropriate. And what I've noticed, and yeah, I want to give my experience from what I learned as well. So, listen. First of all, this channel pathway is a space that I have been developing over since 2017, and it's really just creating the space for the growth and the evolution that that is taking place at the moment. The evolution of the spirit of our soul, and basically it started at the beginning of my awakening. So I had this trip to India and I went straight to Dharamsala. And obviously that's where the Dalai Lama lives. There's a lot of Tibetan people there. I started talking to Tibetan monks and everything, and I really felt like, wow, this is amazing. How have I never heard about this before? It felt like home. It felt like I was finally around people that understood me and I could have conversations that was a bit deeper than just the surface level kind of thing, right? More metaphysical, more spiritual, more pondering questions of life, right? And from that point forwards, I was just like, wow, India, first of all, was amazing. But then I came back to London and I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe I won't have the opportunity to go to India to learn about it there, but I am very intrigued and I want to learn more about it. So I actually ended up volunteering in a Buddhist center in London for 3 months. And it was, yeah, for 3 months I was there. It was no, I can't remember the specific sect of the visit because it's basically split into two different categories. And Mahayana, I think it's called. And then basically, yeah, I was volunteering there. So I was basically staying within the space and living there, but then just, working in the cafe and clearing the space, the temple, and all of these things. And it was very interesting experience for me. I think I remember having this and then after that, actually, before I say that, I ended up working for the charity which had its headquarters in the um, Buddhist Center, and this charity was basically, I guess, in a way, rebranding Buddhism in a more modern way so that it can appeal to the everyday person. Because in a way, Buddhism, it really attracts a certain kind of person, and it's not going to be necessarily attractive to everybody. But some of the things that are taught within it are, absolutely necessary for us today. And so it was just a way to package it to people in a digestible manner, basically. And obviously, the other thing is as well, it's like Buddhism is complicated. When I didn't realize it, but when I got there, I was like, wow, you have this, and then you've got a specific level to get to, then you have the it's almost like you get these initiations, and then you can start practicing these specific mantras, and then there's a big focus around finding a teacher and finding the right teacher for you, and having this person that you can kind of learn from. And as I went along, for me personally, my path has always been about freedom, like true freedom, and the search for, you know, truth, really, the search for truth, what's really freaking real and what's true. And in this world, there's so much that isn't. It's so much of the illusion, so much lies. And I first started reading books. So I started reading Geshe's books, different Geshis, and then I started reading the Dalai Lama's books as well. There was one that he wrote, The Spirituality and Science, which I thought was really, really cool. And so I just, it was part of my journey, it was part of my path. I didn't stay there because for me personally, it was very uh, constricted in a way that I felt like my growth was going to be restricted in that space and I had to move on. And to be honest with you, that's kind of how I have found my whole path in general. Stumbling into different things, into different spaces, different teachings, different places, and realizing this doesn't feel right. I want to break free, and this is not what's happening for me. This is my personal experience, obviously. But I just started noticing things within the community. It was very interesting. And it's just typical, right? For me, when I read the books, there was so much knowledge and so much wisdom in these books, and it gave me so much. But then when I was in the center and I was volunteering, it didn't make sense because the people had interpreted the work in a way that I saw personally. My reflection of it was very following rules, you know. But it didn't add up to me because the teachings were all about freedom. Like the Buddhist teachings were about the liberation, liberation from suffering, liberation from your mind. And it was very psychological, I would say. It was like this mental training, right? But obviously, everyone's on their journey. So that's just how it goes. But when I was in the center, there was just so many rules, like so many rules. And it wasn't even necessarily being imposed by the center. The person who ran the center was so relaxed and so chilled. Like, I think he integrated and he got it in a way that a lot of other people didn't. And then I remember something happened, and I can't remember what happened now. But there was some teacher that was flying in to give a talk, and then there was this huge it wasn't okay, maybe it wasn't that big, but it was like this funny little scandal where everyone was like, oh, am I allowed to receive their teaching because I haven't been blessed with this. There was like a very specific way of doing things, and if you hadn't received that, then you weren't allowed to receive the teaching. And it was just like, why is this so complicated? I remember thinking that to myself, why is this so complicated? So this is just me and my path and my journey and my reflection of what I learned throughout this whole story of Tibetan Buddhism. And you know what? It is what it is. A lot of people have received so much from their journey and their exploration within Buddhism in general, and that's completely fine. For me, it didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense. I was just like, you want to teach something, but like it's so confusing. It's so complicated to a level where it's confusing. And what's the point in that? you know? And specifically the rules. Like, I just didn't get it. The rules, like, tiny little things had to be done in a very specific way. And there's some kind of shame. Like, basically, I had this incident once, right? The whole center was closed, and obviously there's probably going to be people who will completely understand this from the side of as if I was being disrespectful. But I mean, for me, I just feel like, nah, bruh. That's me. So I was wearing my dressing gown, which is like over my knee, right? but I was wearing it in the center. The center had been closed. We were staying there, right? So I was living there. It was closed, and it was probably after 11 p.m. And I think I was trying to get signal or something, so I just kind of like walked up to the front to use my phone. And then one of the people who were staying there was just like, "Do you really think that's appropriate to wear this?" But in a really condescending, like judgmental way. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I didn't even cross my mind. I didn't even think about it. And then I looked and I was just like, "Oh, I think I was probably even wearing pajamas underneath it, because it's cold there, and I was there in the winter." So, and I was just thinking, what? Like, to me, it didn't even make sense. Like, it didn't compute. Like, there's no one here. And then I don't know. I guess there's this whole thing like you have to respect the space and yada yada. But anyway, that's not my upbringing. I didn't, you know. This is what I find really interesting about religions or like cover the skin kind of thing. Like, who cares? Like, I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna put it out there. Who cares? Like, these are the little elements of restriction that start to implement your brain. So now all of a sudden you're following these rules, like, and they are restricting on the soul level. And for some reason, I feel it deeply. Like, don't freaking tell me what to wear, you know? Don't tell me what to do. It's crazy. And I think what happens in these religions is that you just accept one rule after the other, and then it just piles up, and next thing you know, you're tied up in this box. So for me, it was really a process of like, I want to get out of the box, and yeah, okay, fine. At the end of the day, there's always going to be some kind of rule that you're abiding to, but you know, as long as you are following your path and your evolution and your emancipation, then um, and holding your integrity, then sometimes I guess it makes sense. But these ones just didn't make sense for me, right? So anyway, and again, it's like this weird thing, right? In general, I feel like there's in society there's this weird repression with the sexual nature of human beings. It's not even just only women or only men. It's human being. The understanding of what that is, what it means, and it's been so bastardized that it's like everything is just like weird. And actually, to be honest, there's an innocence and purity that is completely missing and lacking out of context from all talks to do with the sexual nature of us, and it's again confuses and distorts everything. So yeah, and then there's this weird in Buddhism. There's this weird like close the door. And we're not gonna even engage, talk anything about sexual exploration, So this is deep, deep, deep repression, and everybody knows it. Like, literally everybody knows. And so, like, this whole thing about me wearing the gown, it's just like, come on, really? It's me here, and there's you. There's no customers. There's no, you know, we're both living here. But anyway, and so, yeah, and listen, it's just the level of the society and where we are, to be honest with you, because that's kind of just how it works. But anyway, that was just particularly my experience with it, and I remember having this very specific moment because I had already started this brand Pathé, and I knew that I wanted it to contribute to the liberation and the freedom for other people. I wanted to, in a way, be able to offer that experience to other people. And so something just clicked for me one day after being here. And it was like, it's not about this anymore. And the government was coming to my head. It's like, it's not about following these leaders, like these people who say they are leaders, because they're sometimes not always quite a true definition of a leader, right? And so I just had this clear moment where it was just something said to me, it's not about that anymore. And this was in 2016. Yeah. It's not about that anymore. We need to start trusting and relying on ourselves. This whole concept of giving our power away to somebody else and literally worshipping and bowing down to them is done. It's over, you know? So, and then from that moment forward, it was like, boom, this is it. This is the new teaching, you know? This is the new revelation, spiritual understanding of, how to free to free ourselves. So that basically was my experience with Buddhism. And I went to some of the talks, I went to some teachers. I had my own relationship with it, to be honest with you. I did my own reading. I didn't study it in the way where, you know, people go to the where people actually go in there and seriously and diligently. That's all they're doing. That's what they're doing, you know, from one day to the other. I was just there and I had my own kind of interpretation with it, but I was surrounded by other people who had been studying it more than I had been, you know. So it was very interesting. And it just opened me up to this whole world. And to be honest, like honestly, the books that I read, they were amazing. I've always felt that I got so much from them. It was more when I was surrounded by other people who had interpreted it. For me, it felt like it was something was being misconstrued, which is typical with religion, right? Because what was being said was being interpreted in a way that was so limiting. And I was like, but that's not the point. The whole point, like Buddha, the message was freedom for me always. So anyway, that was it. And then I went on and I moved on to exploring in different ways, right? And then I didn't necessarily Tibetan Buddhism was always a thing. It was always close to my heart, to be honest. And I probably read some more books later, and I think there's a lot of truth in the teachings and magic as well. And obviously, I started to realize that there's literally real magic in there. But anyway, so basically, then what happened? Yeah, so this recently as well, I'll say separately, but everybody knows about this whole thing about sexual repression, and there's obviously also a whole thing about abuse within religion. Like, it's a long standing, this is nothing new, you know. And recently, not last year, the year before, a friend told me that this whole story came out about this other Tibetan Lama, this Tibetan teacher, and there were a few incidences of cases of abuse, and I think it was mainly from women who started opening up and sharing what had happened to them. So then it just became really, it came out into the open, and obviously it's something that's just been going on behind closed doors. Literally, that's it. And it's sad and it's messed up, you know. And what happens, the thing that happens, I think, is like when you start putting these people on pedestals outside of you and worshiping, and this is when it's very easy to just accept everything, right? And this is what I see that happened in this video. And I just find it very interesting about what I have seen with the reaction to the video, especially from the Buddhist community, right? And in all honesty, and this is not me passing a judgment at all, this is just my observation and how I see it completely plainly. Because if you watch the video, it's very, very clear. Number one, what he says, suck my tongue. And number two, that the little boy was very uncomfortable with him holding his face. It's ridiculous. He was pulling the little boy's face close to his, trying to kiss him, and then he kisses him. And the boy didn't want to. It was so obvious. And everyone is laughing like it was funny. Like, this is the levels of freaking, what is the word other than brainwashing? Do you know what I mean? The levels of rose colored glasses. Like, it's crazy, right? And then the comments that I have seen from people excusing his behavior. Oh my word. There is no excuse. Fudge, man. We don't need to excuse the behavior. There is absolutely no reason to excuse. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. The end. Do you know, like, anyway, it's wild. It's just wild. And so basically, so it's obvious, like, it's freaking obvious. Watch the video, you will see it. The boy is uncomfortable. He's literally a young, innocent child. And I have seen a lot of comments about people talking about the innocence and like, okay, so this is what I've heard. The Dalai Lama is very innocent. He's like a child himself. Then, his intentions were pure. Girl, please. If that was the case, then he wouldn't have done that. You know, if that was really the truth, the video wouldn't look like that because he wouldn't be forcing the innocence of the child. Yes, there is innocence in the world. Yes, children are the most innocent embodiments here. But he should know that if he is also embodying that and reflecting that, and he would be respecting the boundaries. But he's not, which is clearly, it's just mad. The things and the excuses that people come up with. And the thing is as well, right? The excuses are there because people do not want to accept what is right in front of their eyes. And the same thing happened with COVID-19 and the injection. People are not ready to accept the freaking truth. That's it. That is it. Especially when it is right in front of your eyes. It's so obvious. Oh, but he wouldn't ever do such a thing. Don't you know? Haven't you been following him? Da, da, da. Listen, let me tell you one thing. This is the Great Awakening. This is the freaking Babylon falling. We are moving outside of the Kali Yuga. We're going into the Golden Age. So what's happening now is that people who we thought were pure and innocent and kind and compassionate and, although, maybe he is in some ways, maybe he isn't in others, but I can imagine only, I can't say for certain, but that there is more to the story when it comes to this. And I've seen videos as well, this is a thing that's been going on in the Buddhist community for a long time. This is not the first incident. And, there's been incidences when women have confronted him and confronted the Dalai Lama and said, what should we do? Because there's a whole thing about the teacher and you're supposed to stay with the teacher for a certain amount of years, and it's like 12 years or something. It's a long time. But then what happens when the teacher becomes abusive? And basically, instead of backing the woman on, the Dalai Lama kind of just says, well, then you should just step away from him and just avoid conflict. And it's like, okay, fine, I get that internally, but at the same time, how is that going to help anyone? So there's so much that comes up into this, because then it's like, you know what I mean? We're not here to demonize people. That's not the point, right? But there is a way where we are here to set boundaries within ourselves when someone's abusing us, physically, verbally, sexually, all of these things, right? And so we have to do that. And in order to do that, we have to be able to be a good judge of character, So, am I making this up? Especially when we've been primed in the way where it's like all these rules and it's like this golden eye when we look at this person. Wow, they're so amazing. Oh my God. And then all of a sudden we think that the abuse is okay and it's normal. And that's exactly what's happened with this video. That is exactly what's happened with this video. Oh my God, it's the Dalai Lama. He's so amazing. He would never do such a thing. And then it's like, a complete excuse for the behavior. As if it's okay because it's him. He's allowed to do that. No, it's okay. Imagine, put anyone else in that position, it would probably be a different story, you know? But like I was saying, this is a period of time where the truth is coming out, and it's not going to be pretty, it's not going to be what you expected either. And people are going, and they have already, to showing their face, their real freaking face, because everything is being squeezed right now. It's like, and it's the battle of the good versus bad right now, and the like quotient right now is up there, man. The freaking warriors are here. We have arrived. So what happens within that is the darkness as well. It's trying to keep its hold of this humanity in this way, and this is a whole journey of unraveling that one really has to go down themselves. And I definitely encourage you to look at it, because when you start to realize what's going on, and especially with children, like, just don't mess with the freaking children. Like, do you know what I mean? This is the innocence. This is like, it's what the planet needs so much, and creating that trauma from such a young age is like, it's not okay, you know. And at the same time, we understand the play. The shadow is here so that we can walk into the light. So this is the polarity that is playing out together. But that doesn't mean we can excuse the behavior. That's called spiritual bypassing, okay? If you don't know what that is, that's what it is. And that's another thing that I've seen from all the comments, right? And I am here to speak on it all. Because I've seen it and I've been in the community. I know, man. People out here pretending to be doing the work as well. And this is the other thing with religion specifically. And this is a big shadow of humanity. And this is why what is happening now is happening now on the deepest level. It's so that we can upgrade ourselves and see what's going on. And some people are going to get the lesson. Some people are going to get the memo. Not everybody is. Because some people are still in so much denial. They cannot see, and they will not, and they do not want to accept the truth. So, where was I now? So, spiritual bypassing. This is it. People, very easy to just study the text. Yeah, oh, I'm so enlightened, and just so fluffy and light, okay? Everyone calls it the love and light bubble, because that's what happens to a lot of people who are early on their journey, right? They get into this bubble and everything feels amazing, and oh my God, like, and then in a way, there's a bit of dissociation from reality, from the ground, from the earth, from literal connection, real connection. And so basically the point that I'm making is that there's a lot of that going on anyway, right? And from some of the comments that I saw, fudge, it's just a reflection of the Buddhist community and everything that I saw when I dove into it, right? First of all, the excuses, because oh my God, His Holiness, and the thing is here, like, you know what? I'm not here to be disrespectful on Tibetan people, Tibetan culture, because I've met a whole bunch of Tibetan people in my life, spent time with them, had a relationship, Trust me, I've been there, and it's amazing, and there's a lot of history and ancient wisdom, and I love it. It's not about that. I'm not here to demonize things. The only thing that I am here to share, and I feel like the lesson again from this whole situation is the same thing that I got. It's not about the guru. It's not about following these people, and it's most specifically not about putting our power outside of ourselves. And listen, it's 2023. His Holiness. Who are we calling His Holiness for? Like, come on, man. Really? Are we really still doing that? How much of your power are you giving away when you say it? When you just say those words? when you say he is a god, listen, we are all God. Yeah, the religions will not teach you that, but it is an experience, and you will know it when you experience it. You will just know we are God. There's no one God. There's no, oh, it's over there and I need to worship over there. No, what is this? Bowing down, and this is the prime example of putting our power outside of us, okay? Listen, respect other people, fair, but this structure is crumbling, and trust me, there's gonna be more. There's gonna be more. The truth is gonna come out. And like I said, people are getting the memo. Some people who have been into the Tibetan Buddhism and for a while or whatever, they're gonna get the message. Some people will say, "Oh, fudge, I get it," and we've all had it, man. Someone that we've learnt from before, who's telling us this, and that, and then all of a sudden we realize they are not in integrity. And people say, "Oh, yeah, but we're all." No, it just shows we're all human. Yes, it shows that we're all human, and it's time to stop placing our power outside of ourselves and giving. Because what else happens as well is, like, in a way, we're giving our responsibility to this other person, you know. Not always, but sometimes. But basically, you know, it's not just oh, we're all human, okay, excuse the behavior. No, we are all human. Yes, forgiveness can come later, but at the same time, there needs to be methods of dealing with this. Like I said before, the boundary in the first place for yourself, and then also, you know, education. Some kind, you know, at the end of the day, when we all, because I do not agree with canceling people, and I speak about that all the time because it's just not the way to move forward. But I like this story that I heard about, you know, when you live in communities in a tribe in Africa, and basically when someone does something that's kind of out of line and it's not really loving is the word. It's not like it's out of line in a freaking Big Brother way, but it's more it maybe has been hurtful to someone, and then basically the community comes together and they elevate this person. It's not demonizing or anything. It's an education. That's what is required, and that's what's missing in the prison system, and that's what's missing in the rehab system, and all of these things. Like, it's deeply spiritual lessons, learning, and that has been hidden from us. So anyway, so I see a lot of spiritual bypassing happening as well, because yeah, but I just, you know what, as well was so strange as well, that there's the apology, but like, who is this guy that he can't even give his own apology? I mean, okay, he's old, right? But like, what? And then at the end of it, it says the apology literally says something like, he often teases, and it's just like, after that video, that's not something you want to be saying. Do you know what I mean? After that video, you don't want to. What the? After that video, and it's the inappropriateness and the freaking ugh of that video, you don't want to be saying, "Oh, he often teases whoever he's talking to." Like, this is a young boy, you know. It's just like, anyway, and obviously then the comments were open for everyone to discuss. That's whatever. Like, who? Maybe it would have been wiser to not keep the comments open. But whatever, because it's also cool to see what everyone's saying, right? But yeah, what I find is that people have got the blinders on because this person is so holy, holier than thou, and in a lot of the Tibetan community, they perceive him as a god. And this is a big lesson, because when you place the god outside of you, and it's not always in a person, it's sometimes you just think God is over there, you know. But when you do that, then most likely you're going to be very disappointed, because they can't really live up to those expectations, because your perception of what God is like, I don't know, it's a bit too highly, because ultimately when you um speak about oneness, right? Everything is interconnected. There's no division. It's very easy to say we are all God, right? But we are just expressions of good. So we are just here having our human experience. So, you know, so at the end of the day, you could even say that no one living here in this dimension is the exact, you know, God. But then you can also say, but we are all the expressions of this divine, you know? So when you're placing such high beliefs of someone who's here in this dimension, most likely you're going to get very disappointed. You know, it's just the way that it is. And I'm not also totally agreeing like, oh, people could just get corrupted when they got power and all this stuff. No, I don't think that's necessarily true either. You know, I think there's this very specific way of how the world is run and how it works. And when it comes to the children, there's a huge dark story that's going on, and this is just one piece of the puzzle. This is just my reflection of it, to be honest. This is just one piece of the puzzle that we're seeing right now. And look, in all honesty, I'm not, it's not like I can definitely say, you know, there's something going on with the Dalai Lama specifically, or, you know, and I'm not here to make things up, because we don't know, you know. It was a very strange video, and it might point to some things, it might point to some questions, but you know, that's not really something I can say for certain, because I don't know what, you know. All I know is that that video is really freaking uncomfortable and weird, you know. and then and then so, but I also noticed a whole group of people saying his intentions are pure. How do you know? Just because you've been following him for the past 10 years plus? Just because you hear what he's saying? You know, there's a thing called false gods, false gurus, false light. And it's something that we are all to be very aware of. And again, this is why it's not really about making the judgments. What this is about us being able to see what's happening, to know when things are not as they seem, so that we can change our course of direction and make wiser and more safe decisions for ourselves and more free choices for ourselves. That's what it's about, you know. It's not and in order to do that, you have to be able to see what's going on, you know. And if we've got the blinders on, because there's so many blinders, so I think this is one of the biggest things. And anyway, this is it. There are no gurus, there are no gods other than the one that is you, that already exists inside yourself. And you are the one that can liberate yourself. Like I said, if you placing your power outside of you, because that's what happens when you start worshipping people. You are literally, if only you could see, is the energy that you are giving away, you know. And you know, this reality was designed in this way where they don't want you to realize how powerful you are, because otherwise you would start making changes and make a difference to this world, because that's how powerful you are. You know. And religion is just one of those things. It's just one of those things that keeps us in a mentality of not stepping into our true power. And I know that there's a lot of pills for people to swallow, to be honest with you, but there's big pills for people to swallow when it comes to religion, and um, recognizing that we are an expression of the divine, because a lot of the religions don't teach that. They teach that God is a being and it's a man mostly, and exists over here, and this is how we worship him. But when you can see how that creates structures of control, you can really realize, damn. And the experience of God is a very personal, direct relationship for each person individually. That it's it's an experience, and it's very tangible. That's why my whole thing is these religions. Obviously there's great stuff that comes from it, but you have to be really discerning. You have to be able to see, and you have to be able to really cut through the crap, cut through the nonsense, and cut through the control structures that are trying to trap you, because they actually are, you know. So if you can ride the waves and heighten your discernment fully, fine. Learn, research, read whatever you want to read, it's fine. But taking everything as gospel is just, it's a poor man's way forward. Like, that's it. And again, it's not like, well, the thing about religion is that some of them demonize other religions, and that's not the point. Like, yeah, at the end of the day, you can find God in everything, because God is in everything. So it's not to say that it isn't in specific religions. That's not the point. But the biggest lesson of this whole scenario that has come forward, I think, is literally this. Because of the Dalai Lama, man, a lot of people thought that and still do, think that he's like, yeah, he was so compassionate against what happened with the whole thing with China and them booting him out of the country, and he never went to war and all these things. And a lot of stuff is swept under the rug. A lot of stuff I think we don't really know. A lot of these, oh yeah, and then just, yeah, I have to mention this. And just, open your eyes and be discerning. Okay, maybe now it's not to say that he's there's definitely something weird going on, there's definitely some abuse. No, but you can let go of the hold of this worship and just release yourself, and then just observe. Maybe something will come out later, maybe it won't. And yeah, and obviously the other thing that I think is so freaking big is that he promoted the freaking injection. Now, I watched the video a while back and I can't really remember now, but there's a video of him getting it, and afterwards I think he said something like, I think it's a good idea to get it. And that is a big no from me, because if anyone is really tuning into what's going on, then they will see what's really happening with this injection, which is, again, freaking murderous. And not just that, but look, if doctors aren't even allowed to manipulate people's opinion, even the doctors, they're not allowed to do that. There has to be informed consent. And obviously we know that there wasn't informed consent, because the results of these injections only came out much later. And if people saw the whole freaking page of the, what's it called? What do they call it? Side effects. I read this thing, it was like, there are no side effects. They're just effects from what happens when you get it. And then it's pretty accurate. But anyway, and so they're just consequences. And so basically, yeah, if people saw that page before they were forced to release those documents, then who knows, maybe it might have changed some people's opinion, but there was so much manipulation going on anyway, so maybe it wouldn't have. But anyone who is doing that is a sellout. That's what I can say. Because most likely they're getting paid to do it, first of all. And if they only realize the blood on their hands, like, that's a whole different thing. Like, it's freaking dark. So if doctors aren't even allowed to do that, then nobody should be allowed to do it. But so many people did do it, and he was one of those people. And again, this is another thing where you start to realize the spiritual teachers who are real and true, and the ones that aren't. And I've seen it in religion, in Christianity as well. just briefly, some pastors who've been promoting it and other people who haven't. And it's like the people who get the Bible and it's the people who don't. And this is a big thing to discover and to realize. But when you realize it, then you know it's not a yeah, it's not a case of like it's not black and white, obviously, but when you understand what's happening spiritually, then you can understand what's happening uh, materialistically in this realm, in this material realm, you know? So anyone who's doing that is, yeah, it's not cool, it's not okay. And I think a lot of us have started to realize already the results and all these sudden deaths that are happening and piecing the puzzle together. And to be honest, a lot of us already heard and knew that was going to happen before it happened. So we're just sitting around watching, not just sitting around, obviously, come on. But in a way, it feels like we're just watching it all play out very accurately to what uh, we had heard already previously. It's really surreal, you know. But yeah, he. So to be honest, for a lot of people, when that happened, number one, people were still in denial, and but at the same time, when that happened, it was a big telling tale sign to like where he is positioned. And it's again, it's not a case of like this versus this, but as I've spoken about this before in other videos, this is the battle of the darkness and the light. We've all got the darkness inside of us. The best thing to do is to work on your shadows and to not be manipulated energetically, because even this situation now is like a big division that you can get into arguments with, and it's separating people and la-di-da. This isn't the point. The point is to maintain neutrality and observe. And so the more you can work on your shadows, the more you will be able to do that. So yeah, the darkness is in all of us. This is the purge for all of us to really look deeper within ourselves. But at the same time, there is also a very real um, play that is happening at the moment that's trying wants to take us down this dark agenda, you know. And the thing is, if you aren't able to see and if you aren't able to judge and to be able to perceive what's happening, then you're just gonna get wiped down that lane, and next thing you know, you might end up there and feel like, oh fudge man, what am I doing here? And it's right in the last minute, or you might not even realize, in which case it's fine. But then the other point is like, okay, if we can see that, then we can rise up, into our power, responsibility, accountability, and you know, really, really walk into a different world, create a different world, start a new breaking timeline. And so this again, this thing with this video with Dalai Lama, it's that, you know. So a lot of these people that were in positions of power are showing us who they truly are, and we get to decide where we stand within all of that. We get to decide who we support and who we are. It's not even who we support, it's who we are because of that and because of them. But ultimately, one of the biggest things that I've seen here is from this is just claim back your power, claim back all of your power that you're putting outside in other people. Claim it back to yourself now so that you can really, really welcome in the light into your body. That you can really welcome God source into your body, practically, physically, so that you can have that experience and so that you can choose the highest freaking timeline for you and for all of humanity, you know? Vice versa. It's not just selfish things that are going on right now. And the spiritual bypassing, I mean, listen, listen. You know, people have been saying all sorts of funny things like, oh, but it's the people that are, it's only people with dirty minds who are thinking such dirty things. The Dalai Lama, he's so innocent and he's so. This is classic spiritual bypassing 101. You won't see it if you're bypassing because you're bypassing. You won't be able to see that. But it's classic because what happens is that yeah, it's just that denial of what's in front of our eyes. The video, like I said at the beginning, is obvious. It's very clear what's happening in the video. It's not creating any other stories. It's just inappropriate, unnecessary, and unfreaking comfortable. Okay, so there is no. It's just completely unfounded argument. Only the person who's got a bad mind is going to think that. No, that's not how it works. There's a whole freaking agenda here. Like, do your research. There's a whole agenda here to take us down into this AI transhumanism, CBDC currency, you know, whole freaking thing. The people who are looking and seeing that aren't the people who have got dirty minds, who have got the darkness inside them because they. No, like, they're so freaking twisted. The people who are seeing it are simply able to see the darkness. That's it. They are able to witness the darkness that is here in our world. There's no need to deny it. Obviously, we're not here to support it and cheer it on. We're here to integrate it. Like I said, it's in us that we also all have our shadows and we all have to do our shadow work, right? Otherwise, we're going to be taken away in all these directions. And the spiritual bypassing is the opposite of shadow work. So, yeah, it's wild. It's like, no, the point is just because you can see how uncomfortable the boy was, that just shows a level of discernment and a level of perception that, well, clearly other people aren't able to see. Do you know what I mean? Because for some reason their eyes are tainted with this holiness. This person who's like the holiest person they've ever seen. So the point is that that's just completely unfounded comment. Just because someone who's it's because or because they know someone who's been abused and like honestly sometimes where do these people what does this even come from? No, like it's wild. But again, yeah, we're all on our journey and we're all can only see what we can see. So yeah, but this is just my insights and I feel like I really just really wanted to talk about this because there were so many different angles to it and so many different things that I wanted to share about it um and ultimately, yeah, man, the guru days are over. The world is changing. People are changing places. Even people who we thought were like maybe playing on the darker side, they're changing positions, and then we're realizing that they're on the light, and it's like what, and vice versa. So that's just what's going on. So we just have to heighten our discernment and be able to tell the difference of what's going on. And again, listen, it's not to say like, oh, don't have a teacher or don't listen to anyone. Like that's not how it works either. But I always wondered what this thing was about finding a teacher. um it's very interesting. But no, it's not to say that, listen, my journey has taught me so much just by my own inner work. It's just how it works. So it's not to say like, oh, don't be inspired by other people and also don't listen. No, that's not the point. The point is um don't worship basically. Because what's happening, like I said, people are switching roles, switching their beliefs, switching their views, switching their sides. So what you can do is just listen, observe, and take what resonates and leave the rest. There's no need to hold on to who the person is. It's not about the messenger. It's not about the messenger, it's about the message. It doesn't matter where the message came from. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not about canceling people. It's not the personality. No, because you can find all pieces of different parts of the pie on all different places, and it will help you to get your journey together and make sense of what's happening. So yeah, it just felt like there was so much to talk about with this subject, and so much that other people, or not anyone in particular, but so much that isn't being said. And me, I'm here for the truth. I'm here to seek truth, and I'm not afraid to speak it, even if that is going to offend people. It will, and I know that because that's just the nature of truth. But yeah, and then just one more thing, like, I have created this online course, and I feel like some people are probably going to say, yeah, but she's just trying to be her. I'm not trying to be that, just FYI. I am just wanting to share my experience, and that's basically what the online course is, to shine light on this path and this journey into spiritual awakening for other people. That's it. The teaching isn't a teaching anymore. The new teaching that we have moving forward is not teaching. It's not a book. It's not a study. The map is you. The destination is you. So that's it. The new teachings that are coming forward now, the real teachings, the true teachings, I think, and I feel personally, they are the ones that are basically shining light and showing how to see things clearly. It's how to basically uh, expand and interpret reality, how to interpret reality so that your soul expansion can occur, and how, I mean, there's so much to it, but it's not like a teaching of how to calm your mind, or you know what I mean. It's not about specific steps, and you need to do this and this and this, and this is one thing I've never got down with. Like, it's just never resonated with me. Like, I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. So the new teaching these days, personally, I think, and this is new. This is new. Like, however many years later, we'll see so much more of this, so much more. Yeah. So, and it's about how to heal, how to release trauma, and how to really step into our power and responsibility. That's the new freaking teaching. It's not about following specific rules that sometimes don't even really make any sense, or specific people, or specific stories. you know yeah, so people are coming up with all kinds of excuses, and another one that I've heard is, and this is, again, it's the blinkers, because this person is holier than thou and they would never do such a thing. And this is where the conditioning, the brainwashing comes in. Because people are saying, oh, it's a cultural tradition. We've heard about the story about the black tongue, and apparently you just stick your tongue out, and it's playful, and Tibetan culture is quite playful, yeah. But that's just another excuse. It's, again, the evidence is right in front of our eyes. It's clear. What he did was not the greeting of sticking your tongue out. That's not what he said. He said something else that was super inappropriate. And the forceful nature of trying to get this kid's head like closed in the, all of it, that is not a traditional Tibetan greeting. That's not, all. This is, yeah, obviously this is 100% gaslighting, saying like, oh, it's normal. And then again, gaslight, saying it's normal, and then saying that, oh, it's because you've got your dark shadows, and it's because you've got a dirty mind, and that's what you see. And the other thing that I've seen people say is, it's because you've got these shadows, and you can never imagine what it would be like to be innocent, and you need to work on yourself. And again, this is just the height of spiritual bypassing and reflection of Buddhism in general. How are the teachings getting so distorted so it trickles out, so people are gaslighting in this way, where it's like, oh no, it's because of you and you need to. No, actually, I'm pretty sure that I am very certain on what I see, and it's super uncomfortable to watch, and I trust that because I can see it with my own eyes and I can feel it in my body. And actually, maybe we just need to accept that what we see is what we actually see. There's been so much manipulation going on though since 2020 that yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that we've been taught so much even more than usual not to trust ourselves, not to trust our gut. And so yeah, this is just another thing about it. But these are all excuses. Excuses, and then they just give him permission to do that when literally if it was anyone else it would be scandal, and actually it's not okay. It's not okay. What ends up happening is that we're making excuses for his behavior. Yeah, there was an apology. But then, because of this excuse, in a way, then he isn't ne- necessarily going to take responsibility in a way that is necessary, for all of us to heal from this. Because um yeah, because ultimately that's what it is. It's about taking accountability for what happened. And you know what, like I said before, what we might find out is that this is the tip of the iceberg, and maybe there is more going on there, and it's wild that this has happened in such a public way so everyone can see, and now we can truly understand what it is that's happening, so that we can truly understand what abuse is, so that we can truly understand the levels, what gaslighting is, what bypassing is, so we can see everything so clearly, you know what I mean? Like, this is it, this is what's happening. But ultimately, an apology is one thing, but then there's something weird going on, and why did it happen in the first place? So where do we go from here? Now it's the state, and obviously it's not like we can ever force anyone, especially if we've been personally abused in our lives. It's not like we can force and try and control people and try and get them to heal in their own way. It doesn't really work like that. But at the end of the day, yeah, the other thing is that I've seen videos of a lack of responsibility when this female nun would come up to him and say, and then people excuse him, it's not his job. Like, Tibetan Buddhism is huge, and it's not like this one person, even though he's like the 14th Dalai Lama, it's not his responsibility. But like, someone's coming up to you and like, you're like the figurehead, basically. There was a complete lack of trying to do anything to resolve the issue with abuse that happens in terms of monks, and a lot of it was Western women. So, it's like, and that's just something that I realized when I researched into the abuse that happened in general within the Buddhist community, which has been revealing itself these past few years, basically. And yeah, it's strange, like, surely you would want to implement the steps and the setups. Like, okay, I think I saw a video when someone's trying to get him to like sign a declaration so that the the teachers can say like they that agree that they're not going to do it. Not that that's going to do anything, but I don't know. He didn't want to do that, and I think he said something like, "Oh, you know, it's the person's responsibility who's receiving the abuse to set up these systems." And it's just like, what? Sorry, what? So anyway, I'll post a few links here with those kind of little short videos as well, just to get it. But now it's just rearing its ugly head here, and what's the truth about religion and all sorts of things. And again, like, it's not black and white, it's not demonizing religion, no, but these things do happen, and they are happening. And it's a moment for us to see how it's happening and how it's been affecting us, especially if we've fallen into these circles. How much are we conditioned? How much are we controlled by it? How much are we giving our power away? Because that's the real question. So that's me for now. Thank you so much for listening. I'm just one person with a perspective and experience with Buddhism that I just wanted to share. And I hope in some way this video has shone a bit of light on different angles of what this is bringing up for us, for all of us, And there's so many different ways we can approach it, really. And as we all know, yeah, now this is one of the biggest lessons for all of us to go deeper, because people are changing faces, and things that we thought were one way aren't, and things are not as they seem. And that's one thing that's become very clear since 2020. So I encourage everyone to do more research, because these conspiracy theories that we've been told are such, when you really look into it and use your logical mind, you'll see that a lot of them are actually very reasonable, and they make a lot of sense. And you don't even need to search deep. It's all here. It's literally all here, you know. But this demonization around there, and stigmas, and people are afraid, but I'm not afraid. So I'm here for this crumble. I'm here for the truth. I'm here for the great awakening of humanity, and I'm here to step into our highest versions. I'm here for the ascension. I'm here for our healing. Here for all of it, you know. And so yeah, this time is going to be very revealing. You know, that's it. Stay grounded. Do the work. Do the shadow work. It's going to help you. It's going to help you so much. And don't hold on tightly to anything. Listen, I'm saying all these things from my online course. This is what my online course is about in a bit more detail, but this is it. You know, just um yeah, if you're looking for more support, reach out to me. Download the course. Listen, I'm not also trying to promote and sell it off, and you know what I'm saying. What I mean is, if money is the problem, you can have the course for free. It's not about that. It's about being able to get this information to people, because this is the transition that we're going through. The more that we know, the better we equipped we will be. And that includes this incident and what's been happening. So yeah, may we all be able to learn the lessons that we need to from this situation. There's so many things, so many different ways and things, and ways the big fat ugly truth is rearing its head as well. So at the end of the day, we when we finally learn the lessons and integrate, we have gratitude for all that appears in our life, no matter how uncomfortable and discomforting and messed up it can be. And that's again not a reason to bypass and to excuse behavior. No, it's a reason to be in celebration to the light, and standing in it, and standing in our light and power, and knowing what is coming, because we are walking in that specific direction, and we are reclaiming, and we are creating it. So at the end of the day, all is perfect. And yeah, I mean, like I said, it was I think it's so messed up what happened in that video, and in real life. But at the same time, I understand why this is happening, because we need to be able to see the truth, the dark truth of what has been happening in our world, especially when it comes to children. And listen, I'm going to leave that for you to explore and to research on your own, because there is something to it there. And this is the way that it is playing out for all of us to level up, accept, integrate, see clearly, and level up.